today's drop-in session, we're talking about mapping manual and automated steps. So I'm going to break it down into three rough sections where we're going to, as you can see here, we're going to look at some of the features that we can use to map out some of those. We'll look at a quick example, looking at it in real, and pull out some of the kind of tips or approaches in doing so there. And I'm putting a question at the end, yeah, which I thought made sense. So I will be asking you this question at the end of the session. So please do, give me your thoughts. It doesn't have to be right, wrong, even well thought out, but getting some feedback, especially if you've got examples of when this has worked, when it hasn't worked, anything you can share with the team. That's why we're here. Yeah, this is a drop-in. It's not just me presenting. It's you guys asking questions, giving your experience as well. So firstly, we're going to look at some of the features that we can use to capture manual and automated steps. Let me refresh my page, get the logo back. There we go. So if I come into edit mode here, since very, very early on in Spark days, we were being able to add in roles against systems. So looking at this example here, we've got an activity here, which is scan receipt, and is an employee. Yes, to general. These are just simple examples. So this is telling me, just by visually looking at it, that's a manual activity. Yeah. We've got one here, which is validate a line item. It's all to do with an expenses system or process. That's why it's it's the consistent the common theme running through this here. But we've got an employee and concur, right? So concur being the system that's being used. Now, the way this is displayed, this is saying to me that this is a manual activity being used, being conducted in a system. Yeah, pretty straightforward, pretty basic. If I was to double click on this, some people don't realize this, even people that have been using the tool for a while, but you can delete the role. Yeah, so I can hover over the employee section, I can delete that role, come back here, and we can see actually we've now got an activity step with no person involved. And again, so in my mind, that means that step is automated. Now, if Colin's not on the call today, Colin's got a different approach where he actually likes to put roles onto automated steps because it's showing who's responsible, even if they're not the one performing it or if it's being automated. So there's a theme through this that whatever you decide as a company or a standard, make sure you're embedding that and communicating that, because again, some of this is open to interpretation, especially when we're just playing around with the roles and systems baked into activities. Okay. Touching on recent drop-in we've done around activity types. It's a newish feature in Spark. Again, we've got a couple of activities here. I've carried over the approach here of making an automated step just having a system and no person against it. But if you haven't played around with activity types, it might not be switched in your workspace. You can find some more information about it. But if I double click on here, I obviously have them switched on in my workspace. You can predefine activity types. There's a few. Where is automation? I've got questions coming. Yeah, so in terms of here, so we can say, actually, I've got a manual step. Yeah, so I can click over here, you've got the hover over it, and you can predefine these. I'll show you where to do that in a second. And it will put that icon and a hover over that activity step here to say, this is a manual step that's occurring in my end-to-end flow. We're just picking out activity steps, not looking at flow, just so the example. And again, if I double click on the activity step here, I can click on this, I can say automated. Perfect. Again, really simple. We'll have a look at reports once we start to look at an example. You'll see where this information pops up and how you can pull that out of the process. And if I wanted to see, if you're not, you might not be admins, but just to sort of give you a teaser into what admins, the power that an admin has, you can come into your admin section. You've got activity types down here, and you can see here we've predefined these. And if I wanted to create a new type up here, we could call it semi-auto. We could select an icon. Don't know what we would do for. I'm going to put a laptop, which in my mind insinuates it's technical, but someone's also sitting at a laptop, and you can even define the color if you so wish. Hit save, and we can drag those around. So you can say actually semi-auto. So I could go back to my process. That's all saved. I could refresh the the page, and the next time I come in to do the activity types, it would be there. Okay, that's a nice way to do it. You'll see in the reporting that, you know, why would you do one over the other? You get more granular reporting by doing this. Yeah, we'll look at that in a second. The third area of Spark functionality I wanted to introduce in this context is custom fields and forms. Hopefully, most of you will have at least played around with custom fields. They're pretty common feature. If I click on here, we can come into hit on the attachment, come into custom fields, and we could start to add that information about, is a step automated or not? Is it manual versus automated or whatever else? We can put that in there. Now, I purposely haven't pre-created this because I want the thing about custom fields is you can create them on the fly if you so need to. So I can come in to create a new custom field. I could say this is level of automation. Again, just you'd have a standard, I would suggest, and I could add in new grouping here. So I could say we've got none. Create that there. When I come in here, we can say it's it's a fully manual paper process. Yeah, I don't know, whatever it might be, we can pin that information, and then that will pin against it. You can have more than one custom field against an activity step, but if I just edit this one in here, I could say actually this is what the level. You know, we could say some. Again, I'm not worrying too much about what it might be. You know, and it, you know, we might have a check of the website. Info manually added, whatever it might have, and so you can kind of just create that information. The custom fields are always just the name of the custom field, grouping if you so wish to use that, but I don't see why you wouldn't, because it's really useful in the reporting, and then a comment. You can't add any more information into that, but often that is exactly what you need to do. The forms. I'll come back to the questions once we've done this page, if that's all right. But the forms are an extension of custom fields. And again, I'll just create a simple example for this context. But if you come down into more forms, you can see here I've created a level of automation. I've called it the same as the custom field, where this is basically you're able to predefine a form. And have that attached to the process. And so again, just saying this is a fully automated step. Or actually, let's do a semi-automated. You could add a description in here. I'm not going to worry about that in this demo. And you could say we've got some. What's the scope? Actually, we could fully automate this. Again, I haven't spent too long thinking about the wording. We could use some scanning solution. Yeah, perfect. You could even add the automation tech if it's already in your system, or you could add it here. So if we said actually Liberty IDP, intelligent document processing, you can confirm that in there. Yeah, and you can see I've actually displayed some of it on the process. You can change the visibility or whatever against the process in here, but that will add that information against the step, which I actually added. I had that. Oh, sorry, against the process. And again, just to tease those non-editors in the group, let me just show you how this works. You can see here we can add a new form. Got this one here which we created. You can open a report to see where it's used, which is quite cool. Or I can edit, I can preview, or I can edit. And again, not to dwell too much on this feature, but you can add in all sorts of fields from text, numeric, date pickers, glossary pickers, color pickers. You could do quite a bit. You can define what's visible on the form, and you can also say, where was it? So allow multiple forms of this type on a box, basically. So in my example there, you would only want one instance of this on an activity box because it's defining what's a one-to-one relationship. But if it was something like requirements or improvement opportunities, you might actually have more than one. So again, you can flick that and define the behavior of the feature or that form even. Great. Okay, so there's sort of the building blocks in terms of how you would depict manual versus automated. Got some questions here. Where there is automation, how would you recommend we indicate monitoring of the automated step? Interesting. Again, if it was a monitoring of the automated step, I'd be capturing that information in a custom field or probably a form to say how is it being monitored, the frequency, where does that information go, who needs it, for example. All that sort of information would be called against a form, against an activity step. Can we upload our own icons for use with the activity types? Short answer is no, but we're always interested in feedback and improvement ideas, so please do put that through the community portal if you do require that. You can. It's not here. It's the same. I think it's the same list of icons that we do if you use the semicolons and around here. You could spend ages trying to find the right icon, and luckily I'd had a look before and just decided one. Otherwise, you'd have been watching me scroll down a long list trying to work out what might make sense. Again, it's all about defining your standards, making sure it makes sense. And I don't like changing the colours of these. And suggesting that they mean different things because not everyone can see all colours, and I prefer having the icons as more of an accessibility thing. Okay, let's take some of these steps. Let's take some of the automated steps and see what we can do in terms of the example. So again, just a simple example. I've just chosen a very simple expenses process. If I just copy those steps in here. So again, we're not going to be able to cover every eventuality here, but what's quite common when you start to map automated steps, or especially steps which may have manual and automated steps, that's really where you want to look at the drill down. So if we said validate line item, so maybe that's an automated step which the system does. It goes and checks against some standards or predefined rules. It's more, we've got the activity step here. We create the expense form. Again, there might be automated steps in there. We add and update line items. What I would be looking at is looking at the drill downs. More often than not, it's the drill downs which have these automated steps. If I drill down here, paste it in here, actually we'll have some manual steps. So we can say, I'm not going to map too much, but you can say add a new line item. Mileage, dinner, whatever it might be. The employees doing that in our system. And again, if you haven't seen, we've got the counts on here. I can type ahead, find it, and what we're doing, and then we can just say, line item saved, perfect, and then the system can be doing something here. Just doing that, going on here. Okay, and then if it's validated, all looks okay. You might even do a little just because we're talking about icons, why not check mark there, all looks okay, or it doesn't, failed, with return message, I don't know, whatever it might be here, only because I did it there on there. You put check mark there, cross mark there, and it comes back in here, or somewhere else. But you can see here we've got a nice mix of where a person is handing over to an automated system, and then I'm assuming at this point this is our final output. Again, you can see what we're doing here. So it just neatly fits in to the flow. And if you then needed to actually work out, do we want to map out the automated process, you could do that below here. How do we validate line item? There might be the 3 steps of we need to is it the right code? Is the value within the policy guidelines? Do the 2 match? Is there a receipt? Whatever it might be, you could actually map out those checks, which are fully automated, but it's all below this one activity. Okay. And the same goes for these 2 really. And again, regardless of what approach you're taking, you might have a pre-approved expense claim comes in here again, where I think part of the time it's interesting to work out where it sits. Does it sit at this higher level? Does it sit below that submit? I.e., we don't let them submit if the pre-approval is not coming in. Is it part of the line manager approval? Don't know, but it's all in fact in this flow. I would argue it's down here. Yeah, so you can say actually we've got the pre-approval, we've got our output in here. We've got an issue highlighted, and we can even link that back up if we so wish back into. They need to go back and update their systems. So again, it's just about weaving the automated steps when it makes sense into the flow. Exactly one of the things which I wanted to pick up on is actually having these automated steps let you then pin other improvement opportunities or other analysis onto it. So you can see here, I'm not pre-canned this, but we can say we've got an improvement idea or an opportunity perhaps, which it might be automation, it's to improve the accuracy, or to link it to most up to date or whatever it might be. And if you didn't have this automated step in there, the context of this improvement opportunity might be lost. So yeah, definitely that's a great reason. Just to finish off then, so exactly that. So some people do accuse me sometimes of asking a question and then answering it with saying it depends. So I did want to give an actually definitive answer in terms of my view and my experience, and it's yes. Yeah, it is. Does it make sense? Yes, it does. Most of the time, it will make sense to add an element of automated mapping or mapping steps in here. But there's always a but, isn't there? Find the right level. Yeah, you could go over the top and start to add in dozens of automated steps into an end-to-end business flow, but you've got to find the right level. And I think hopefully that example showed kind of the higher level sort of automated step might make sense, but actually, do we need to go and list out the 10 checks it's doing as a process? Maybe it's an attachment. Or the other thing I'll leave you with as well, if you do want to map out a complete system end-to-end flow as part of an automated step, maybe Spark's not the right tool. Maybe you do want to go and map it in a system flow or a BPMN diagram. Again, so just making sure you find the right level and don't go over the top is my advice. Brilliant. As always, if anyone's got any questions outside of this session, please do reach out. You know us, we'd love to talk about this. We've got the community you can post questions to as well if you want a more wider view of the world. But thanks for your time, and I'll look forward to seeing you in a future session.